Hello and welcome to this SlimDevOps episode 31. This was originally recorded live on twitch.tv/SlimDevOps on the 27th of January. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, please give us a follow on Twitch so you can join in interactively. Hello, Pete.
Hey, Martin, how are you doing?
I'm very well. And also, hello, Kit.
Howdy there.
Hello. We'll be introducing Kit in more detail a little later. Kit is one of our advisors and also is going to be talking to us about SLOs and SLOConf a bit later. But before we get into that, what have you been up to, Pete?
Well, we've had kind of a busy week. I think we'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, it's been really good. We've been getting a lot of growth at Slim. We have a lot of new team members to welcome. A couple of them will be coming on stream with us pretty soon. And so welcoming a few people to both the marketing side and the engineering side. So that's pretty exciting. It's really great. So
yeah, in fact, we're going to feel the full force of one of our new joiners because we've got some artistic flair in the stream today.
So we've got some new collateral, and why don't we jump over to that? I think it's going to be pretty fun to see. So animations. I don't know if people kind of caught the video that we posted yesterday. We'll talk about that in a second, but next week on stream, we'll be going over continuing our Docker composed application that we've been working on, this PyPhoto app that we've been working on. And we'll be adding a Postgres database to that. So, please join next week. If you haven't been following along, there's a link to our GitHub that you can find in our Discord channel. And you can see sort of the tutorial there and the examples we've been doing about slimming that container and kind of creating that app. Adding the database is going to be kind of like a really interesting component because the whole app is going to kind of come together then. So that one will be pretty exciting. And then the week after, this is one I'm the most excited about, is we will be having Ian from our team, who is one of our engineers. He's been with us for a little while now, a few months now. And Ian is a Go expert, and he is going to be walking us through how and why of Go. And we're going to be containerizing a Go app, I think, and then we'll run that through Docker Slim to minify it. So for people who have been trying to learn Go or want to know more about Go, get kind of the high level there, that's going to be a really cool stream to have. And Ian's great, so excited to have him on. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That's a genuine expert that's going to be talking to us about containers and Go, as opposed to you and I adding a Postgres database. That's going to be another in the series of Martin and Peter decide to wing it.
Yeah, we have promised to do absolutely no prep work for that one. So those we've been told those are the more fun ones, as opposed to the ones where we actually get the app working first. So what could go wrong? We'll see what happens. But
so it's definitely an SOS stream, that one. So participation from the sidelines will be most appreciated.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. But today we have Kit with us. Kit is the COO of Noble9 and also the founder of SLOConf. So Pete, what else can you tell us about yourself? Kit, what else can you tell us about yourself? I'm happy
to talk about myself, but let's hear from Kit.
Might be more interesting for us to hear from Pete. What else can I tell you about myself? I don't know. I like software. Kind of into software a little bit. I'm on Twitter a lot. This is my first Twitch stream.
Nice. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm basically just interested to hear what you guys want to chat about.
Yeah. Well, we're always interested in hobbies and pastimes. So Pete and I usually run down stuff that we've been up to recently. What have you been tinkering with recently?
Well, I just started playing guitar again. I kind of took a hiatus from it, and my guitar is proudly displayed in the background. So that's been good. I took a little bit of a break, and I've been pulling that out, getting calluses back on. That's fun.
Nice.
And I was just started being able to travel again, which is kind of nice too. I just got back from Los Angeles. We had a team meeting there, which was pretty fun. So yeah, but what is it? I think there's like some news. You guys were talking about you guys raised some money or something, right? Wasn't that the?
Yeah, a little bit of extra funds in the Slim coffers these days. Yeah, yesterday we released the news that we had raised $31 million Series A. So pretty happy about that. Like kudos to the Slim.AI team. We did, it was really exciting, honestly. We have some really great investment partners, insight partners, and Stepstone are kind of leading the round, Knollwood participating, and of course, all of our seed investors, Boltstart and Decibel, FXP, of course, who are kind of co-founders, and Tech Aviv also participating in the round. So pretty exciting, I think John wrote a blog piece for us that kind of talks about what we hope to do with that. So encourage people to read that. I think the team is just excited to continue to innovate in the cloud native space and try to make life easier for developers who are working with containers, which is what we're all about at Slim.AI. And, I don't know, for me, it just means I get to keep coming on Twitch and talking to you and talking to Mark.
No coincidence, episode 31, right? 31 million, episode 31.
It's a nice tie-in.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah, we didn't even plan it like that. But
are you serious? Okay, well. Synergy.
That had completely passed me by, but yes, that is so fitting. Yeah. Excellent.
We'll have to go check with our investors if they were aware of that. Maybe they've been watching this stream and that was how they decided to.
Maybe it's how you negotiated an extra $1 million, right? Is that episode coming up?
So I would just like to take a moment to say hello to members of the team that are in chat with us. I see Aisha and Big Pod there, and also welcome back to some of our friends, Takov and Eric and Yannick. I see you all there, and hello Danny, welcome back, and also first time, hello Mindy, welcome to the stream, thank you for stopping by. Mindy was just watching Brett Fisher's stream. That's a good one to go and look at. I think he streams on YouTube, so look up Brett Fisher. And also Robert Cathy, hello. Hello, welcome to the stream. Robert
Cathy, the man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Brett Fisher is great. I mean, we've been doing a lot of these Container 101 type tutorials, and Brett does a lot of those. I learned a lot about Docker from Brett's streams, and so just definitely +1 to him. And I think, kind of going back to the Series A, I just want to take a moment to thank the community here. It's really a lot of the work that we've done, both on this stream and in our Discord, and all the testing that has gone into the platform, and people kind of telling us what's working for them and what's not. Our early adopters, everybody who's using Docker Slim, and all of that just kind of led up to this moment where now we can actually, really, go forward and try to build something really, really useful. So just a moment of pause and a big thank you to everybody. It means a lot to us, all the engagement and support. So
indeed. And we're going to be working hard to deliver more value to the developers that are using not only the open source Docker Slim, but also working with the SaaS platform over at Slim.AI.
Yeah. Awesome. So Kit, talk to us a little bit about SLOs and SLOConf. I mean, you mentioned your Twitter, and it's sort of synonymous, your name and SLOs, and you're just constantly tweeting about this. You've really created a movement around these for people who aren't as familiar with SLOs or SRE. Can you just give us kind of the high level of why they're important, why people care, and then what SLOConf is and how that kind of came around?
Well, Niall Murphy, who was one of the early SREs, was at Google, worked on the book, was at Microsoft, and now is doing SRE consulting. He tweeted that Noble Nine's marketing is basically three of me in a trench coat is kind of like our approach to social media. Someone reminded me of that today. The community is quite amazing. The people that we have in this, and I tweet about it a lot, and that's it's fun, and I like to do that. But the people who are really doing it, the people who are connected to it, it just keeps growing. And that to me is what's actually the most exciting about what we're seeing with SLOs. Now, a detour for people who aren't familiar with the concept, service level objective. The idea is that there's a technical answer, which I'll give first, and then there's a philosophical organizational answer. The technical answer is you take a proportion of events. Okay, you have 100 of something, and you take the proportion of those events that are good versus bad, and you explicitly try to match the target, not exceed it. Okay, if I say 99%, I'm saying there's one, we call it an error budget, right? There's one error that I've budgeted for, and there's 99 good events. I don't want to do 99 or better. I want to do precisely 99. Okay, if it's 99.9, I want to do precisely, 999 out of 1,000 precisely. And the reason is because if we're overachieving the goal, that means we've actually been inefficient. We've actually built our system to not accept risk, which is really the issue here. Okay, so this is the sort of technical answer. And what people often will do is they will take their observability data, their monitoring data, and then they'll try to build an SLO and track it and build a dashboard and punish teams for not hitting their goals, right? This is the kind of sort of classical way of doing it. And this is where the philosophical organizational piece comes around. We see software delivery organizations pulling each other in lots of different directions, right? Some are saying, oh my God, we got to build features or we'll lose customers. They might be saying, if we don't fix our reliability, our customers will leave. They might be saying, on-call's burning people out. They're getting pulled in these different ways. Technical debt, right, is killing us. And we want to make these data-driven decisions, but in fact, we have more data about our systems than ever before. But for some reason, all the people on the team come to a different conclusion, right? We have all this data about our code and our monitoring and like more data than ever about our AWS bill. We know exactly what we're spending. We know our speed of delivery. We know all of it. Why can't we all say the same, like, this is the right thing to do? And the reason is because of a lack of shared context between the different stakeholders. And there's three particular things. First is expectations of customers. They don't live in the code. The expectations from customers don't live in the code, and it changes over time. If we were on this video stream 5 years ago, our expectations of this service would be completely different, right? And that's true of every service out there, whether it's your food delivery service, your Uber, your video streaming, it's like any service is going to change over time. That expectation isn't baked into the product, right? Second is the risk, right? Some failures you can deal with, some failures you can recover from, some failures you can't. That risk profile is not baked into your code. And the third thing is the trade-offs you have to make, because you can't do it all. You have to choose. Am I doing more features or am I doing more technical debt, right? Am I making this thing scale in the hopes of achieving customers, or am I building features to attract customers? Am I spending money on cloud, or am I going to live with the site being a little bit slower? Those are all trade-offs. None of that's baked into your product. So what service level objectives enable, what they facilitate for the organization, is the shared context that you need in order to use the data to make appropriate decisions. Okay, so you can understand when I'm on call and I get woken up at 3 a.m, I have the context to understand if this is something I need to pay attention to, or I should send to someone else, and how to make the, is it an emergency or is it something we can wait? In the case of roadmap planning, you're deciding how to spend your precious resources on delivering features or fixing technical debt. It becomes incredibly apparent if you look at the SLO, and you don't even have to explain it to people, because this is the hard part, is technical people explaining to business stakeholders and PMs why they're not delivering more features. And then the biggest one to me is really about justifying investments. If you need to now go spend a lot more money on cloud, being able to explain to your boss the before and after, hey, we were here, we did something, and then this happened as a result. And SLOs connect the dots between these different layers from the tactical decisions we make throughout the organization every day. And people are now, want to look at SLOs regularly, and people who are using our platform, they're looking at it all the time to understand what's really going on at the tactical level, and then rolling it up across the entire organization and trying to understand the big picture. And the big picture is how well are we performing, and how well are we managing our risk? How well are we meeting expectations of customers? And how well are we handling the trade-offs that are in front of us? So to me, this is what's so powerful about the concept of SLOs. Now there's the next layer about SLOConf, and this is where I think it gets particularly exciting. Last year, we did SLOConf as, it came from a joke on a tweet. I think it was February 4th. I made a joke about running SLOConf in Europe, and somebody asked me if it was really happening. I said, of course not. And then what ended up happening is kind of shocking to me, actually. So it started with that. Then it became a conversation. Then next thing you knew, it became a huge Twitter thread. Then it became a planning document. Then it became a planning session, and the community basically forced us to do it. And we learned something interesting about online events, that if you can make it all about the value in the community and remove all the constraints that you have trying to recreate an in-person event online, it completely changes the experience. Okay. So for example, there's no schedule. This blew people's minds. There's literally no schedule. All the content is available. You literally can watch it on your own pace. We have no limit on how many talks we can have. It's storage is free. So we have as many talks as possible. Our CFP actually just opened for this year yesterday. And our goal with the CFP is, if it's not a sales pitch and it's not off topic, it's approved. Okay. It's like that simple. We give some guidance, and we're giving some help. And I know Alex Hidalgo, who's leading the charge for our CFP this year, he's going to be coaching through the speakers, but maximally inclusive in how we do the talks. We have this massive Slack space where people come in, they showed their pets, kind of became like a bunch of inside jokes, and people are having communication, but they're doing it while they're working. They're able to do this kind of on the side. And that increased participation and really got people excited. So we had almost, I think it was just shy of 2,300 people register last year. Getting a big registration number isn't that exciting. What's really exciting to me is we had over 900 people in the Slack space. We had 400 people, over 400 people, I think almost 500 people filled out the end of event survey. So that, participation was huge. We had 1,100 hours of viewership that week on our 7 hours of content that we produced for the event. So really like hands-on labs, training, et cetera. So I think this year we're going to be even bigger. We now just yesterday launched our global captains for SLOConf. We have leaders from Africa, India, UK, Poland, all helping to build this. We have our monthly meetup now that just about 1,000 people involved in that. So it's been
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I could go on about SLOConf for ages. It's an exciting event, and it's happening.
You're
9 through 12.
Talking to a fanboy here. So if people haven't registered from last time, also you guys give away some great swag. So encourage people to register. It sounds really cool about the talks for people maybe first time talks or whatever. And so May 9th through the 12th. And the registration's open now. Is that right?
The registration's open now and it's free. And you'll get updates and hear what's coming. If you register, definitely do that as soon as you can. And early registrations help us get sponsors is the trick. Okay. So that is the one reason to register early. You don't get a discount, but it helps us with finding great sponsors. We had fantastic sponsors last year that made sure that everything was covered. This year, we're expecting slightly higher costs associated with the event because we're going to have a real event platform instead of this website that we hacked together. And we're going to have better swag and other things too. Really exciting what we got going on. So
that's awesome. Okay,
so we've got some feedback from the chat here. So first of all, we have this comment here. This is Eric, who operates the R-Lang podcast, and he's our resident data scientist. And he says, this is right up my alley, a deluge of data to inform decision making. Which, yes, I could imagine that this is the sort of... Eric, is this the sort of thing that you're digging into on a daily basis, or is it a different set of data that you're interested in? And then we've got a first-time chatter here. Hello, Hypersphere. And they say to Eric that the trick is making sure that you have the right data instrumented and available. So that poses a good question. How do you know you're tracking the right information and making the right sizing the SLOs?
Yeah, it's a great point. And what I usually recommend for people is to start with the data you have and to start with, what can you track? What gives you the best signal? What are you currently alerting on? And get your SLOs there. Baseline yourself based on that. And there's some great tools available. There's a Google CRE spreadsheet. The Customer Reliability Engineering team at Google made this spreadsheet that goes risk assessments where you can figure out kind of based on a risk-oriented view versus looking at the data and start to understand the risk profiles of your service. What could go wrong? What would be acceptable? There's also some judgment in this too. Would I be willing to take a page is a great kind of litmus test, right? Would I be willing to take a page if 1 out of 1,000 people had a 30 millisecond delay on the website load? If you're not willing to take a page, then maybe your SLO is set too high. I think the other part is you give yourself permission to change it over time. It's an iterative approach. So if you are you have the data you have today, you have the SLOs that you think are right, and then you learn and you say, wow, wouldn't it be better if we had this data over here? Or could we get this data from this other system and merge it with the data from another system and then bring that together into an SLO, set an assessment on it, decide how urgent you want the response of the error budget burn to be on that. Is this a page or is this a file a bug or is it a kick off the autoscaler, right? You can think about these different use cases of how you would use that SLO data to drive action. But it's a moving target and no system is perfect. So the question is like, how do we make progress? Right? We want to focus on making progress, not trying to achieve perfection in these systems. I see a lot of teams that want to wait until they have the data perfect before they start doing SLOs. I think it's a mistake. I think doing SLOs first is what enables you to get to the point where your data tells you what you need to know.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And also Hypersphere is commenting that, taking it slow, SLOW, iterate one service at a time.
I think that's right. Iteration is important. I think the challenge is also about getting started. And if you have to do, a year's worth of infrastructure to get your first SLO, that's going to be a very different experience than I have SLOs now, and now I can focus on how to make those good. And then in a year, you have SLOs that you can really trust and rely on. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, and from my point of view, I'm very interested that you've gone with sort of an unconference for this event. I approve of that. So I'm an organizer for, well, not that we've had this event in the UK for some time now, for obvious reasons, but I'm an organizer for OggCamp, which is a free culture unconference in the UK. And that was born out of live performances of tech podcasts and has now become a sort of free software, free culture event, an annual event in the UK. And that is an unconference platform, and it works extremely well because a big marker board of, what do you want to talk about, and, a public vote, literally, tallies on the board to see who gets the big room, who gets the small room.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of discussion about format. I remember last year because we didn't know what was going to work, right? We kind of knew what doesn't work, like virtual booths and unleashing the talks at certain times. We knew this wasn't going to work, especially with the global footprint. We had people from all over the world. In fact, there's a joke running right now. If there's anybody out there who knows an SRE from Antarctica, we're really trying to get them, because it turns out that over 6/9 of the people on the planet all live outside of Antarctica. And we've been trying now on Twitter to find somebody who's like the SRE of Antarctica so we can cover the whole globe. Although we are within air budget, to be honest. Like we have the rest of it covered. But the unconference format, what's interesting about it is that it is an emergent way of producing content. And I think with our unlimited CFP, we end up with a lot of great ideas. But we also managed last year to produce content that was snackable. And I think an unconference is kind of like, it's like democracy, right? It's like very expensive, but you end up with like really great outcomes. But the problem is that, getting there can be a little bit, it doesn't make great TV, okay? And what we did instead is we set, very focused constraints. You get 10 minutes, right? 5 to 10 minutes is all you get. And we invented this approach because we were daunted by, we produced 7 hours of content, okay? I have a team of 3 people that organized the event, and we didn't have a video editor on staff. So, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. What we ended up doing is we assigned a buddy, a speaker. Okay, every speaker got a speaker buddy, and they were in charge of making sure they were, what was the feedback? You don't want to do a Zoom recording of your talk to no one. You need an audience. So now the buddy is my audience. We do it together. You need somebody to give you feedback. This wasn't clear. Your sound was wrong. You didn't, that you're not making the point as well as you could, right? And what ended up happening is 70% of the talks came in on time and required zero editing by the organizers. Right. We didn't have to follow up with anybody. They made it happen themselves. In fact, I had my my speaker buddy for my talk that I gave, which is Spoons from Lightstep, great guy. We did each other's talks together. We had a blast doing it, and our talks were better as a result of it, right? And so what ended up happening is not only do we have this vast amount of quality content, but it also came out extremely high quality and with a very low cost of production. This year, what we added to it, we did some light editing in some cases. We added transcript service. We added to all the videos to make sure that they were accessible and people could watch it without audio. And we added a little bumper at the beginning with a little SLOConf branding. That was it. That was all we really did for these videos. And so now, taking this kind of unconference kind of like attitude, which is I think really what it is, and then the conversations that are happening in the Slack space. Right. It's people who are commenting, I just watched this talk over here. It was really interesting. The person who gave it, we really encourage the speakers to go engage in their own time zone, though. You know how Slack is, right? You can be very asynchronous. You're in there when you're working. It's really easy to hop in and see if there's comments, check in on the conference. And then what we try to do as the organizers is bring people back, okay? Because the thing is that the conference isn't like you're not going to the conference. The conference is coming to you. Right? We wanted people to see there's all this stuff happening at the conference, but I'm not aware of it. I need to go check in on it. I need to be reminded. So that's why you cross over social media and these other places. And all of a sudden people start to feel like the conference is kind of like showing up for them as opposed to them showing up at this place. It completely changes the dynamic, and it built its own momentum because of that.
Yeah, those are good observations. I think we're all still sort of, after 18 months, we're getting better, but we've been learning a new way to connect with users, community, in a way that we knew existed, but we weren't properly leveraging. And I think it's a well-learned set of lessons, but still an emerging skill.
Yeah, one thing, Kit, that you've been connecting SLOs to that I think has been interesting, and I feel it kind of comes from this like feeling of community and membership and people getting together to kind of share what their experience has been over the past 2 years, as they've kind of adjusted to work, is how sort of SLOs and tech debt and developer burnout and retention sort of all tie together, and it makes sense when you put it like that, right? If you're trying to do too much or you're misaligned on what you're trying to accomplish as a software organization, right, you're going to be leaving behind these pieces that maybe some people want to work on, some people don't, or that are slowing you down. That creates a bad developer experience. When developers get frustrated, they find new jobs. It's hard for organizations to retain great talent. Can you talk a little bit more about that, about just how like developer experience and retention are sort of tied together and how SLOs interact with that?
It's an amazing phenomenon. It's actually like incredibly obvious, but it's incredibly nuanced as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll just to kind of kick this off. I made this tweet, which is my pinned tweet still because I'm so happy with it. It said, "People used to quit managers, now they quit on-call rotations." And I think I struck a nerve with this tweet because people started to notice. It actually got me an interview with Wired because of this tweet. Okay, this is like I did this article with Wired about the Great Resignation in tech, and the key point. Now, of course, Wired didn't really talk about the technical debt part. It was like they kind of, I think it was too nerdy of a term for them to put into the article. But the idea is that on-call is not. On-call itself is not actually that big of a turnoff for engineers, and people can disagree with me on this, but I actually don't think people mind on-call per se. The issue they have with on-call is when, one, it's punishment for shipping bad code, which makes no sense because the reason they shipped is not because of the code quality, they shipped because of business pressure. Okay, number one, right? Tech debt is issued by the engineers to the business to be able to ship sooner, right? Not the other way around. That's the first problem. Second problem is if you're on call and you go to the postmortem, you come up with a resolution for it, and that gets put in the backlog, and then we don't fix it. And now you're going to get repetitive on call with no power to recover. You're going to get really frustrated, like really frustrated. And it's the power dynamic. It's the way the relationship to work. It's being able to bring evidence to support what's going on, but you feel it yourself, right? How do I convince the business that this is a real, honest to goodness problem? And how do I, eventually like vote with my feet? And that is also creates a cycle too. Now I go to a new company where I get to work on features. I get to generate all this additional technical debt until it becomes a problem, right? And so now what we're seeing, and I'm seeing this in so many people I'm talking to that are changing jobs, they see it as a criteria. Okay, they see it as a criteria for joining. Like all things being equal, and maybe even for less money. If I can go to a place where, look, we take it seriously, right? We've built practices where we can we care about productivity. We care about delivering quality software. We care about making thoughtful decisions about balancing these competing needs. That's going to get offer acceptance. And this is my shout out to any hiring managers. If you're struggling to hire engineers, the sales pitch is not the cafeteria. Okay. The sales pitch is not the masseuse. The sales pitch is we manage our technical debt well. This is the sales pitch to engineers. That works, by the way. I have multiple people that I've been talking to so many people about this. I keep hearing about it. It's like, this is the solution that's happening. And the Great Resignation that's happening in tech is very different than the other kinds of things happening in the world because engineers are still very much, and it's not just engineers per se. I want to be very clear. It's the technical people involved in these projects, product managers, support, SRE, DevOps, that whole crew that are in high demand and often can choose the type of job and culture they want. But they also are beginning to realize more and more that they can't just suffer, right? They can't change the culture from the inside because it's a systemic problem in the way and the relationship, the disconnect between the business people who are setting the priorities and the engineers who are at the, kind of the front lines of carrying that risk and that debt to customers. So hopefully this was controversial enough so we got some comments on this. Does anybody, let's see.
Well, yeah, so Eric is saying that he 100% agrees on this whole point around technical debt, and he's actively trying to solve that now and not finding it easy. And, from my point of view, that whole piece really resonated with me because I have been in that position where it's quite literally Christmas Day and it all goes wrong and you're on first base and you suddenly find yourself driving to a data center somewhere in the world because it's literally on fire.
Well, I want to throw another hive mind thing out there, because I really want at SLOConf this year, we had some really high profile outages in the last 12 months, right? We had the Facebook outage, we've had the AWS, some big outages, Roblox outage. There's some amazingly like powerful and life impacting outages. The dependence on the software, like DoorDash and Grubhub, are critical infrastructure of the world now. Like, it's so crazy just that we're living like this, and hopefully it all changes. But this experience we've gone through over the last 18, 24 months has really taught us a lot of lessons. So my request is, if you know somebody who's involved in one of these, please come have them talk at SLOConf. Have them submit a talk and just tell us what happened. It doesn't necessarily have to be about SLOs in this case. We want to talk about the reliability and the impact of that. We'd love to get more people on there. I want to throw one more thing on the tech debt, though, before we move off this topic.
Sure.
I want to teach you one weird trick to make tech debt easier to manage with your PM team, okay? So right now, imagine you have an SLO for the way the service should work today, right? You have some, it needs to be, and the example I kind of think of is, you roll out a new product and you expect it's going to mostly get used in the US. So let's just say. And the engineers say, well, I'll pretend that Peter is my PM here. Peter, listen, you're not going to get any customers from Europe, right? You're not going to get any customers from Asia. It's just US. That's what you're saying? Sure. You realize that if you launch this in Europe, that we have technical debt. They're not going to get as good of an experience as the US, but we're not deploying in those data centers. You agree with me, right?
Yeah, I don't care. I want to ship it now. Let's ship.
Right. Okay. But in a year, you're going to go get a bunch of customers in Europe, and then I'm going to have to do a bunch of fixes, and those features are going to get put on hold, right?
Yeah, we'll deal with that then.
Exactly. Okay. So here's what we're going to do differently. That's the old story. Here's the new story.
Yep.
How would we know that this is happening? I'm going to add monitoring specifically for the tech debt case that we just talked about. I'm going to monitor for users coming from outside the US, and I'm going to track their latency. We're going to agree today. What would be an acceptable point of latency that would trigger us coming back to the technical debt. Okay. We're going to agree on that now. What do you think it would be if you had people from Europe and they were getting what kind?
Latency, let's say 90%, 95%.
95% of what we're getting in the US. Great. So we agree that that's the goal. And when that happens, I'm going to remind you about this. We're going to talk about it in our future planning, and you're going to put some of your features on hold. I'm not saying you put everything on hold, but you're going to agree now this is a priority. You're cool with that?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, as long as we can.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
So what will happen now is I set up two SLOs. I have the SLO for today, and I have the SLO for tomorrow. And the SLO for tomorrow doesn't page me, because no one wants to talk about technical debt at 3 a.m, right? Yeah. Instead, it just files a bug. It files a JIRA. That's it. And now when we do our natural product planning, I'm not the one who has to remember. It's out of my mind, right? The system now knows that we have technical debt, and we have an agreement about technical debt. And it's going to hold you accountable for me as my product guy, because now it's in the backlog. Now this is in the backlog, and it must be addressed. We must decide at this point. And you'll say, oh, well, where did this come from? Well, we've been monitoring this whole time, and it finally hit the trigger point that we agreed to, and now we have to deal with it. Okay, this is, to me, is the way I'm seeing teams now manage technical debt. It's completely different. It's completely different, and it's like, instead of waiting for the loan shark, right? You have the amortization schedule of the loan that you're making up front, and by having that, it empowers everybody to be aware of how much debt is outstanding, and then they can manage it. They can make decisions in a much more proactive way. And not just respond to the crisis when it happens on Christmas Day, when you probably could have known, if you had set the monitor for that thing that was technical debt creeping up, you probably could have figured it out before the holiday season. Yeah. Right. Well, so anyway, I just put that out there. Yeah.
It feels fair to the product managers too, right? I can imagine that they enjoy. I've been on the product management side before when I was at TripAdvisor, right? And you're being kind of asked by your engineer, well, what's an acceptable thing, or actually, like, it's often phrased as a binary trade-off, right? Like, well, if we do this, then our customers in Europe aren't going to get this good experience. Well, as a product manager, I'm not evil. I don't want the customers in Europe to have a bad experience, but I do have to balance this sort of like pressure to get, features out to the user versus like what could go wrong. And so it's a fair agreement. It's a fair thing to think about ahead of time, and we can make a proactive decision. So I can definitely see that working.
Yeah. And it can be recorded in a system too, because it's he said, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other interesting SLO scenario that I thought of actually while we were talking a little bit is, I figured I should probably connect SLOs to Slim.AI, right? Because it seems like it would make sense. And you made this point about, it's not binary, right? It's not like yes or no. Like, is your image slim or not, right? There's like shades of slimness to an image. And if you could set an SLO on, instead of it being like, oh, this image is like 100% slim, whatever that means in this context, extra, extra binary or craft or whatever. But you could have 99% of them, or 990 or 99.9% of the images will be in this condition, for this service, et cetera, and start to give yourself, again, that freedom, right, to take a small amount of risk that actually reduces the cost and the ability to ship dramatically. Starting to think about that slimming and kind of this supply chain and the binary management, et cetera, as a problem of not yes or no. It's a question of like, are we within acceptable tolerances of a system that, for the type of expectations and risks we should have to keep the team productive?
Yeah, well, and the experience we see is on the security side as well, right? Where you might scan your container for vulnerabilities and you get like 800 vulnerabilities. Like, well, what are you going to do with 800 vulnerabilities? You can't do anything with 800 vulnerabilities. You slim the container and maybe now you're down into the teens and 20s of vulnerabilities. Okay, now you can proactively decide which ones, this is acceptable risk, this is unacceptable risk, you make better decisions. So I think that's a really great point.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
This has sparked some conversation. So
let's hear, bring us up to speed.
So Eric is pointing out that, the recommendations to solve fundamental tech debt issues for a major project kept getting pushed onto the backlog over and over again. And then I saw that Hypersphere sort of said this, which is, how do you change culture around tech debt?
Yeah, it's I wish I had a short answer, or a magic answer. I think the first thing is, I think, talking about it and having data about it and not making it this abstract thing. I actually think, I can tell you a recent example we had, even within Noble 9, my CTO, Alex Nauta, amazing guy. We were having this conversation about a particular set of feature trade-offs. And actually, after this product review is kind of like, hey, this thing that you're positioning as tech debt is actually gonna be really valuable for customers. It's gonna be really valuable for like the performance of the system and all these other things. But I'm like, it's kind of getting buried because, you're talking about it like it's tech debt. And he's like, well, well, technically, and being technically correct is the best kind of correct. So, he's like, technically it's tech debt. But there is something about the positioning, right? The way we communicate what we mean when we say this is technical debt, that, from the business, the product side of it, what they hear is like, it's crying wolf, right? You're crying wolf. That's your own problem. Code better, right? Write better code if you're worried about technical debt, right? And instead, I think it really needs to become about thinking technical debt as a tool, right? As a part and a consequence, and being kind of precise about what we mean. And we may need better terminology. I mean, there's some interesting things where, tech debt, people think of as like financialization, because you can't really refinance your tech debt. Like if you think of financialization, there's some other metaphors, but instead think of it like household chores. Like the dishes pile up, somebody needs to clean the bathroom, right? People need to pull their weight in the house, or the house is going to kind of go to crap without everybody's contribution. And that's kind of like a way of thinking about technical debt, right? There's some great pictures I found on technical debt. Like there's the boat, it's like this cool sailboat, they pull it out of the water and it's covered in like moss and barnacles under the water line, right? That's technical debt. There's this picture of like a house that's being held together, and the contractor says, well, how come you can't add a window to this? Like, why does this take so long to add a window? And of course they have to completely, redo the house. So getting more conceptual understanding of it, and also I think the consequences of it too. If the engineers are voting with their feet because they're asking all the right questions about how it's managed, then that's going to naturally lead to better understanding as well. So changing the culture, the systematic approach that I believe is working, and I'm seeing working, is trying to make meetings turn into APIs. Okay, this is like my first, and this is what I think is really happening. Like this is the Kubernetes and cloud and everything else. You take these discussions and meetings and manual human interactions, and you turn them into APIs so we can worry about higher order things. You need a higher order of abstraction in order to make these problems kind of go away. So I look like, when I talk to engineering teams, like, do you spend a lot of time negotiating the roadmap? You spend a lot of time negotiating the stuff? If you're negotiating, then that tells you, right, that the data is giving you different conclusions, which means that you don't have shared context. That's what it means, right? Because if it was just purely data to decision, then you would have automation, right? If it's data bunch of arguing decision, then that means that the context is not shared. There's something missing from the picture because you can't actually derive the answer. And so that means you have to figure out, well, how do I get that data into the system and be able to act? It's not easy. And the larger the organization, the more ingrained it is, et cetera, you have all these challenges. Changing any organization is hard. But the way I look at it is definitely not like telling people we got to make things more reliable. That's definitely not the solution. Like having a systematic implementation approach is what you need. And again, SLOConf is a great way. I'll plug SLOConf again. If you want to learn about how people are really doing this, there's a bunch of like beyond theory, how we change organizations, how we do training. This is a great place to go and learn and talk to people who are actually doing it. There's so many leaders in this community that are, changing their organization by approaching, the adoption of SLOs, the adoption of error budgets, building, taking their observability game to the next level. This is what everybody's talking about there. All the content from last year is also still available. Oh, there's my phone. Anyway, so that's, SLOConf is my answer for how to solve technical debt.
Nice. Brilliant. I like that. Well, we are coming up on time. So Kit, we have one more thing for you. And I think it's what everybody's been waiting for. So just going to give a quick spoiler alert. If you're playing Wordle, you might not want to watch what we're about to do because my understanding is that it's a daily word game. I first learned about it on Twitter from Kit, so I know he's got some strategies for it. Yes. He's going to walk us through how to play Wordle, how he thinks about it, and we're going to learn live on stream. Again, spoiler alerts, if you're going to play today's, you're about to see some answers.
By the way, you can skip one day, or you can get a genius on me if you want to. Just copy me. But also, if you're playing, you don't share. But Wordlers are pretty. We're a friendly bunch. We don't give away secrets. Okay. Now, all right. So first thing you got to do is you got to click DevX. Now, one thing I'll teach you right off the bat is if you want to keep a running score, you got to use the same browser every time. I made the mistake of using a different browser one time, and it ruined my streak. And the most important step in Wordle is the first word. And my opening word for Wordle every day is exactly the same. It's Noble, obviously, Noble.
Oh. And that is from Noble9, the slow platform company that you are the COO of.
Correct. And you can't use numbers. Okay, and then we're going to click. I've never done it in a browser. I do it on my phone usually. Is there an enter button? I can't see it. There you go. All right. Okay. So by the way, I'll tell you, opening word strategy, there's a couple things to note. If you ever watched Wheel of Fortune, remember the final word, whatever that's called? RSTLNE, right? Yep. Those are the free letters. That makes a good opening word and sometimes second word. You got to get those letters in there because they're your most common letters. So that's just something to think about. And if you use the same opening word every day, your chances of getting it in one are basically impossible. So you have to change it up. So someday you might get lucky and accidentally guess the word that is the opening word. Okay. What do we know? We have to use deduction here. So what do we know about this word, Peter?
That O is the second word because the green means that it's in the right position and it is the right letter.
Correct.
And that this one also has an N in it, but in a different position than the first one.
And we also know that B, L, and E are not in the word, which is important. It's almost more important than that. Okay. Now I've just realized I've got this weird menu bar thing covering it, so I can't see the keyboard. Oh, there, I got it now. Okay, cool. So now we need a second word, and we need to. I don't know. You got any ideas what our second word could be? I don't want to just give it away, but there's a couple different theories. Okay, theory one is you take the information you already know, and actually, if you play Wordle in hard mode, you have to take the information you know into each one. We're playing easy mode, so we could do completely
hard mode would be the keyboard is not color coded. Is that what that means?
No. It's that you couldn't use any of the letters. Like you couldn't use the dark gray letters, and you can't use the letters that aren't in the right position.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mode, yeah. So one strategy is you try to get as much information in the second guess as possible. So you want to just completely change it. But we already have, the green and the yellow, or the green and the gold letter, so we know that those are in it. So we'll use that. I like to do it that way because I think it gets your chance. Again, if you get more information, you have no ability to get the right thing. So what are some words that have a O and an N? Throw some words out, Martin. What do you think? 5 letters.
Take suggestions from the chat as well.
If you guys want to, yeah, it's fine.
Aisha points out that this is a hot fact. Josh Wardle created the game for his girlfriend. So maybe we can get Josh Wardle to come to SLOConf and talk about reliability in Wordle.
Sure, why not? Okay. Martin, you got any words? Let's think about this. So we got What always happens is I start thinking of words that I can't do. We could do.
I'm just trying to think of a word that encompasses more interesting letters. That's what I...
We can
Big Pod says honor.
Honor. I like that one.
Honor is good.
Yeah, H. Because by the way, the O could be in there twice. Let's do it. Honor.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's try it.
Nice work, Big Pod.
Okay. Oops, that was the wrong button. There we go.
Left side. There you go.
Yeah, a little bit of a UI suggestion for Wordle there. All right, honor did not get us anything. So I guess we know now that the N is not in the third position.
Correct.
Okay.
And we also, I think we know for certain there's no second O because the second O is dark gray. And I think that's right, although I'm not sure about the rule on that one. Yeah. And we also know there's no H or R. So RSTLNE. So what?
So no second O.
We haven't done S yet. So I would try to get the S into the next word. So maybe we do.
How about sound?
Sound, beautiful. It also gets into their vowels. So that's great. SOUND. You guys are great at this. Okay. Oh, so we're getting closer. Some variation on the own, but not ending with D.
It's not H, so it's not hound.
It's not hound.
Hypersphere had suggested unity for the last one, but I think we're past that.
That one eliminated. So it could be like, I was thinking wound, but that doesn't work because it's no.
The D.
That final letter is the one that's going to be.
Yeah.
And
it's no R. So.
Ooh, I'm with Luke. Suggests count. I think
okay.
Count. We haven't done T yet, so there we go. Let's try count.
Okay. Welcome to the stream, Luke. Timely.
Luke. Yeah, timely.
Here we go. I think we got it, guys. Come on. Oh
no.
Almost.
We're close though. We're close.
Mount.
All right.
I think is it. Mount is.
Okay
word.
Then.
That's my guess. Mount. It could be fount, I guess, but that's a weird one.
Yeah. Or yount, like Robin.
There it is.
There we go. We got it. There we go. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So we got it in great. So we had 5 out of 6, which is great, but it's not few. Like if you get in 6, it's like few. So then the traditional move is you click share.
Okay.
You're gonna click share.
Can we share it on the SlimDevOps?
Well, click share. See what happens. I don't know what happens. It should go to your Twitter account.
Probably should.
Well, this isn't logged into any of that, but I have it here. I'm pasting it into our Discord. So if you go to Slim.AI,
share and put it in the Discord. Yeah.
Oh, we all did it together. Yeah, totally. Maybe Lindsay or Olivia can click on that.
Excellent. And that is how you Wordle.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the lesson. I've been seeing these appearing in my Twitter timeline for some time now and had no idea. Well, I knew it was a word game, but I hadn't played. Now I know how to get started. I'm a bit worried. I feel like this is a massive time sink.
Well, the nice thing about it, I'll tell you, the nice thing about this game is the 1 a day format, because otherwise there are some people who've made Wordle variations where you can play them and just binge them.
Right.
But the 1 a day, it becomes more like a ritual. And I like to do it with my wife and happy hour. We'll go and have a glass of wine and do Wordle together, and it's quite nice. So
nice. Well, Brilliant. That is awesome. Well, Kit, thanks so much for joining. It's really awesome always talking with you, and glad we could be your first time on Twitch. You're welcome back anytime to join us. But SLOConf, May 9th through 12th. People can register now at SLOConf.com. Is that right? And
Yep. And congrats on the Series A. Always great to have more resources to help the community. So
we'll do our bit, that's for sure. Right. Well,
good luck with your Postgres database too.
Thank you.
Excited to hear how that goes.
Next week, same time next week for that. So thanks very much for everyone that stopped by. We will see you next week when we will be doing that thing. Bye for now.